So Alien Nation from 1998 was going to get a reboot, a remake, straight to cinema. But it's been delayed and got stuck in development hell. Now, it's planning to go straight to a streaming service in a series. But there are lots of other projects stuck in development hell that should follow their example. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. When James Caan died a few months ago, a lot of people went on there and said about remembering the movies that he'd been in that they loved. They remembered Elf and gangster movies and things that he'd done. But I remembered Alien Nation. The movie that for me inspired District 9, that great movie with a really unique and original story. Alien Nation went on to spawn a TV series that only survived one series, sadly, but became such a cult classic that it went on to have 5 TV movies. The writers of Iron Man and the director Jeff Nichols started to try to develop a movie reboot of this back in 2015, but it's really struggled to get off the blocks, and then COVID happened. In the last few months, Jeff Nichols, who is still signed on to direct this, has announced that it's still happening and it's still moving forwards, but it will go straight to streaming. It will be a 10 or 12 episode series instead. Now, I would argue that that is a very wise move. In a movie that's 90 minutes to 2 hours, you don't get the character development that I think a story like Alien Nation really needs. You need to get to know, you need to get to like, and you need to get to care about the characters for it to work. Now, this could start a franchise where they do sequel movies, but just as easily, you could just do a streaming series instead. Now, streaming series do get decent budgets, even though I do appreciate that the streaming services are in a bit of a mess at the moment. They can't seem to decide what to do. We've had a bit of a golden period with the streaming services where they had lots of money and lots of growth to invest in, but that growth is slowed or even stopped for Netflix. They are rethinking a lot of projects moving forwards. But the Alien Nation project would be a reasonably low budget thing. It's a very high concept series. It has lots of social commentary. It has lots of different ways you can do what sci-fi does best and actually have layers to it and talk about lots of different real life issues through the metaphor of an alien cop buddy series. And if the series has the same humour and joy that the movie did and the following series did, then there's no reason why this couldn't be a massive success. But there are lots of other projects stuck in development hell that could do the same. For example, for years now they've been trying to do an A-Team movie, a sequel to the movie a few years ago that kind of bombed. Now I really hoped when Liam Neeson stepped up to take on the moniker of Hannibal that would lead to a series of movies. I thought it was a brilliant idea. I thought Bradley Cooper as Faceman was just genius casting, and I really hoped we would get 2, 3, 4 movies out of it. But it never happened. Mainly because the movie just wasn't that popular at the box office. The reason though for me was, again, this is a character driven project. You need to care about Hannibal, Faceman, Murdoch and BA. And if you don't, if you're not invested in them, it doesn't work. So again, this is a project. Forget about trying to make a movie. You should be making a streaming service series. Knight Rider has been in pre-production for a few years now. James Wan has got 31 projects currently on his IMDb list of upcoming, from Arachnophobia to Mortal Kombat 2 to, oh god, the list just goes on and on and on. For me, The Knight Rider should not be a movie. If you do a movie, it should just be something that starts a new franchise. It should be something that goes straight to Amazon or Netflix. James Wan, producing this, wants to make a cinematic movie, but it feels like this kind of project doesn't really suit a cinematic release. Now, there is a lot of nostalgia for projects like Knight Rider and the A-Team. People love these projects and they love the originals. They still watch them today regularly. So with the ever-growing list of projects that James Wan has signed himself up to, maybe he should reconsider Knight Rider as a movie and instead pass it on to somebody else that could produce a series for Amazon or Netflix or Disney Plus. People that would absolutely kill to get a project like this on their service and would be a far better project in the long run. Finally, on my list of projects that have been stuck in development hell for years and that would do with, for me, a shift from a cinematic release to a streaming service project instead, is the Spawn movie. Now, Jamie Foxx has been signed on for this for a couple of years and he keeps talking about it. It's definitely a project he desperately wants to do. Todd McFarlane wants to write, produce, direct and everything in this movie. And again, he really keeps talking about how he wants this project to happen. But he wants it to become a cinematic release because you can't start franchises on streaming services. He says it just doesn't work. You need a cinematic release to kickstart something like this. I would argue that that's maybe a little bit dated. And even though Spawn would work as a cinematic release, it just would. It's the type of movie that wasn't done very well first time round. Jamie Foxx has been talking about how when they saw The Joker, a movie with quite a small budget, that he sees the Spawn having a similar sort of vibe to that, and that's what him and Todd McFarlane are talking about. Todd McFarlane has obviously considered the streaming service approach. He talks about it in an interview a few months ago, but he dismisses it because, like as you say, he wants to create the franchise. I would argue, though, that a franchise gives you that time to develop a character, but so does a streaming service. You could get 10 hours of product, equivalent to 5 movies, in one series on a streaming service, and you could get a decent budget to do it. So why not just go that way if, as I say, in this case, the project just doesn't seem to be able to get past the starting line? I genuinely believe the Spawn would make a brilliant cinematic release, unlike the A-Team and Knight Rider, where I think they need to be a streaming service because it's so character-driven. The Spawn project isn't quite like that. But in this case, where it seems to be struggling so hard to get going, and if there is somebody like HBO Max out there willing to give you the money to make a short series, go that way. Get it done. Get the project made. Or it'll just keep getting pushed back, and eventually it just will never happen. I'd love to know exactly what you think, and if there are any other projects that you think would be much better as a streaming service series than a cinematic release. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, it really helps us out. Also, you can consider becoming a fully fledged SciTrekker. Hit the join button. As always guys, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.